Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Six rounds complete and only 3 remaining. We are into the home straight in the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship, and our host for this round 7 is the venue of the longest home straight in world motorsport. It is Fuji Speedway. I am Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Aaron Smith in the commentary box for this broadcast on Apex Racing TV, and bringing you the stream from the broadcasting is Samuli Kume. And this is a crucial round of the championship as we do enter the final stages, and it's a circuit where we are going to see no end of overtaking and racing. Rudskogen last time out was extremely difficult. It was almost like a street circuit that the drivers were having to negotiate with, barely any opportunities for overtakes at all. We could not be going to a more different circuit tonight here at Fuji.
Yeah, this circuit is about as far as you can get from Rudskogen last week. It's nice and wide, got those long straights, which should be fun. Definitely going to see a few 3 wides in there, possibly even 4 if people are feeling ballsy. And turn 1 in Heat 1, Heat 2, even qualifying is probably going to be absolutely chaotic from start to finish. In the land of the rising sun, it's always a pleasure to be here, to race here, to watch these races, and well, Fuji is always a pleasure.
It really is, and it's been such a good addition. Really, the community have taken to this circuit, not like every circuit which has joined the sim in recent years, but Fuji is an absolute stalwart in every single series in iRacing, and so no surprise that we have it in the F4s. Qualifying just starts now. The drivers are about to set their first lap times, or start their first lap times. In the championship going into this round, it is Theodore Bergerson who is leading the way, but only by 11 points over Cyrus Amber. The two of them had a fantastic squabble for the race win last time at Rudskogen. Bergerson crucially getting the pole position for the A final, and that was enough for him. Aiden Young keeping tabs, and still Lennart Schnabel with a small chance as well. In the Pro Am Championship, in the Am Championship, we've got Tom Minot at the top of the standings, and that is even closer. 3 points back to Garrett Spence. Minot taking the lead of the title going after the last round. But Spencer's in there, Chris Kirk is in there, Aske Loritzen has been in good form, Philip Russell has a chance, and so any one of those top 5, and you wouldn't even rule out someone like Jay Walsh or Atia Toth as well to make a contention. So it's what we want to see, Aaron. All the championships are well alive.
Yeah, like I said a few races ago, that AM Championship is definitely going to be the one I'm looking for. Those top 5 drivers separated by 20 points. It's still anyone's game with, yeah, yet still 3 rounds to go. And tonight's race, I think, could be one of those deciding races, as Fuji genuinely is one of those tracks where anything can happen. I remember, especially the last season in F3, it was just absolute chaos from start to finish. And yeah, coming through the field that day as well was just, it's a beauty to drive around here. It's a beauty to overtake, and both championships surely by the end of today are going to be shaken up.
Yeah, and also you should mention the teams championship as well, with TNT Motorsport leading the way. They've got a decent gap over Scorks Esports and Alcantech NHR. But I think for most of the drivers, they will be yeah, focusing on those driver championships, looking for a bit of personal glory. As these first times have been, well, we've got Cyrus Zambra. No, he has not set a time. But he's coming up with a position. There we go. His time's coming up now. Young, Zambra, and Kai Bach all setting lap times. A strong effort from the Americans start off. Honestly, probably you don't want to be in clean air here, Andy. You want to be have a slipstream, but not so much that it's going to disturb you too much.
Yeah, I think going back to what I was saying is that in F3 last season, I think that was the way to go. You wanted the slipstream round here, as the dirty air only really affects you in a few corners, but that slipstream down the main straight, and it's just so powerful round here. It can gain you half a second, which can leapfrog you miles ahead of your championship rival. And yeah, I definitely think people, especially if they're in the same team as we are seeing already in this qualifying session, people are definitely going to be trailing other cars and trying as hard as they can to use that slipstream while also not disturbing their own laps.
Yeah, you really want to be sort of gaining on the first part of the lap, really, but then still have a bit of space in front of you for this final section, which is such a polar opposite to the high-speed nature. And of course, this is a fixed setup series, and so the drivers can decide to set up their car for that long straight or for the tight twisty bits. But undoubtedly, you've got to consider not just what the fastest way is around here, but the most raceable way. You cannot afford to make yourself a sitting duck and have 0 straight line speed. You really do need to trim it out a little bit, as our championship leader Bergerson goes to the top and more very close to the back of him. It's a TNT Motorsports 1-2 halfway through qualifying.
Yeah, it's looking good at the moment. I also noticed, I think Young might have made a mistake on that previous lap. He made his way back to the pits, and maybe going for a lower fuel run. There's a car off as well. Not quite sure who that was. I think they towed back to the pits as well. I think that might be Pollard, not 100%. But yeah, I think Young either made a mistake or is maybe playing a little bit of mind games here and is using a lot less fuel than anyone else. But that top 5 is extremely close. Top 6 even is looking really close with those pros at the moment. But Bergerson is coming out on top, and we'll see if Zambra can get anywhere near that.
Reminder of the format that we have tonight. Of course, we have this 10-minute qualifying session, then we'll have 2 10-minute heats, and the top 6 in each of those heats will go straight through to an A final. The drivers who aren't in the top 6 will go into a B final, and the top 3 from that B final will also go into the A final. So 4 races. Some drivers will be taking part in 3 races, but the majority just in 2 of them. We will have a 15-car A final to decide who's going to win out in this round, but should also mention that you do get points for your heat results as well, so every race does absolutely count, as the next set of times are about to be crossed. And I do feel like Daniel Lamore might well go top here, because he set the fastest first sector of anyone, and look at the draft he's got. He's absolutely timed this perfectly, and this might be an unassailable lap time. It's not well clear, but it is provisional pole.
Yeah, he got that slipstream correct to a T, and we'll see if anyone else can match that. It is, with that slipstream, it is touch and go round here, and those gaps as well. Even though it is quite a long lap in these Formula 4 cars, there's not really much in it between driver to driver compared to other more technical tracks like the Skogan that we had last week, where every single little bit counts. And around here, it's not as much. That slipstream being a huge part. Spence getting this slipstream. Is he going to be able to improve? I don't think he is. He's just beginning another lap. And yeah, Spence at the moment second in AMS. He's going to be compromised into turn 1, following Pollard in. It's probably cost him a few tenths, but it's looking good for Lauritsen at the top of AMS, and with only 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, Wisco, the only pro driver in amongst those. As it stands, as that is pushing the limits. I think you just got to keep a wheel on the red and white. Is that true around the circuit? Just keep a wheel on the red and white and you should be alright?
I believe so, yeah. The off-tracks around here are fairly lenient, and especially the exit of turn 1, you can push it a little bit, as you see Visor cutting a little bit there. You can push the limits around this track. It's not as punishing as some other tracks that we've seen this season, like especially Rudskogen last week, because the amount of slowdowns that we had was just incredible. I think every driver at least had one at some point during the session. But we'll see if Weisercore can put himself up in the timing sheets at the moment as he's coming across the line into 6th place. A decent time as he just about made it. Don't think he's got enough time to go for another lap, but at the moment 7th is not bad. It's about mid-pack, and he's in a decent place for the race.
And Streis was the driver who just overtook him into turn 1. Streis went up to 3rd place in that. He had a real nice draft to the start-finish line. So it's a TNT 1-2-3. And that is some result for them to coordinate that, considering that Streis has sort of been by himself. I'm surprised he hasn't been with his other teammate, but frankly, I think that's a smart move from them. You don't want all three. I mean, you know, like I'm saying that the slipstream is very powerful, but boy, when I've seen teams mess it up in the past, and so it's really not worth it if you can avoid it. Albeit David may have some affiliation to the team as well, because he has certainly helped out the Dutch driver there. We're into the final 15 seconds of qualifying, and the drivers cannot complete the lap that they start, and that means that no one is going to make it to the line. Philip Russell is the furthest around the circuit, but he's still a while away with about... he won't be that far away, Philip Russell. He'll get close to the line, but he has just missed out, unfortunately, and so he will remain in 16th position. And we will tick over to Heat 1 of the evening, and it is going to be Daniel Amor up on pole position. Tommy Struis's teammates alongside him there. Cyrus Zambria, 2nd place in the championship, remember. David Wiscott in 4th place. Then it's Michael Kabach, and then the AMS, Garrett Spence, Tom Poggi, Jay Walsh, Nick Pollard, and Hugo Robb serving a qualifying ban.
Yeah, and then we've got Hugo Robb rounding out your top 10. He's rather had not the best start to this race. He looked fairly quick in weeks previous, but we just have to anxiously wait for the start of the race now and place your bets. I'm not quite sure who's going to come out on top with this one. Seems like, especially for those pros, it's going to be really, really difficult to win this race, and there's not really much between them at all. It's a few tenths, and some of that might be slipstream. You just don't know. And hey, that's why we love to watch these races. We don't know. It's racing. We've got about 10 minutes to find out. Sam, are you as excited as I am?
Yeah, I'm very excited, and what I love, and you know, sure, I did create this format, and so I don't really want to compliment it too much, but it is maybe the best thing that anyone's ever done, because it does just build up the anticipation as the day goes on. We start off with these heats, and it's just setting really the grid, a few points being handed out, but then it gets so much more significant as the evening goes on when we get into the B final and then the A final. It's just David Wiscott on waiting to get onto the grid. I do hope that David makes it, because we've only got 10 more seconds of gridding to go. But there he pops in, and the Polish driver will be able to start on the 2nd row of the grid. So 3 meetings of this championship remaining. It is Fuji tonight, and the action is about to commence. 5 red lights on, and we are away racing at Fuji International Speedway. It's a strong start for all the TNT drivers. No changes so far in the top 8, just Hugo Rob getting up to 9th in the background. They need to make sure that they don't crash into one another too much. The TNT guys down into turn 1. Big lockup for one of the drivers. I think that may have been Poggy, who was all locked up into turn 1 and losing a couple of places. In fact, it was Garrett Spence who did well to avoid any contact. So the top 6 all in the exact same order as they started. But strong start for Jay Walsh and for Hugo Rob further down the order.
I think one of the cars in the background might have lost a front wing there. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I need to put on my reading glasses, but I think it might be Nick Robb actually, who's missing a front wing. He is. I'm not quite sure there. He's clearly had some kind of contact into turn 1, running into the back of someone. Doesn't look like anybody else has any damage, but he's going to have to nurse that one back to the pits and hope that we have some more action in today's race. But it's holding up Pollard and Poggy a little bit, but we've got a battle going on for second place as Strauss gets past Zambra, and that's going to be crucial for the championship. Zambra will not like to see that, and he has to get back in front of Strauss if he wants any chance of fighting Bergerson for the lead in the feature.
Yeah, Zambra able to get his nose ahead into the chicane, but strong defense from Strauss to stay in that second place, defend from Amor up ahead. But they are all still in the slipstream, and we will see that gap come down slightly. It's not coming down much between the top 2. The gap's at about 9/10 of a second. It's coming down by a few hundredths of a second. It will be Zambra. It will be the one aggressive down into turn 1. But behind him is Wiscott, and if he doesn't go for this one, Zambra, he's going to be overtaken from behind. They make a dart to the inside of the circuit. It's a wide circuit here at Fuji, and he was covering all the space there was Struis. Can he get the car stopped because he's locked up? Zambra has to go off the track. He might pick up a 1x. He will not care one bit if he can make this move stick and move up into second place, into the Coca-Cola corner they run, and that is very strong defense there from Struis, who for now is holding on to second place.
Yeah, track position is difficult to keep round here, but it's still the advantage wherever you go in racing. And Zambra is not going to give this one up, but just has to. But he forces Strauss into a mistake, who locks up and goes wide. Strauss is going to have the inside for this next corner, but makes a little bit of contact with Zambra. It's going to be so close. I don't know how Weisercore didn't make huge amounts of contact with Zambra there. As we come into these next corners, breaking around the 80 meter mark. Weisercore's going to go for a send. There's been contact, and I think Zambra's still about on the track, but he's lost yet another position to these TNT cars. Is now defending fiercely from Kaibak behind. This has been a nightmare of a start for Zambra for his championship battle, and Kaibak is still giving him the run for his money. He's going to go for a send into the penultimate corner, and Zambra still fighting that one. That was a very good defense, still kept 4th place, but Kaibak surely is going to get that slipstream down this main straight, as look how much time Zambra has lost to the top 3.
If you want to do any suspension tests on how strong these F4 cars are, well, I think Cyrus Zambra's done a fantastic assessment right there, because I reckon he made contact about 5 times on that last lap with a multitude of drivers, and somehow the wheels are still pointing in the right direction. He's having to go, well, he's trying to get past Kaibach after all, and he is in that 4th position, and can maybe start to look a little bit ahead, but frustrating for Zambra, who really lost out last time out with Skogan because he wasn't on pole position for the A final. It left him with a lot to do. Frustrated, he felt like there was no opportunities to overtake whatsoever, and so he knows the importance of taking pole for the A final, and that is looking very far away, well, 3.6 seconds away as it stands.
Yeah, and crucially, he's just about starting to fall out of that slipstream range, which is going to allow the cars ahead to absolutely run away with it. And if he can't get back in that slipstream, well, he's just going to have to focus on keeping this 4th place and focus on keeping Kaibak and Co behind. I think he hasn't got too much of a challenge from Spence. And yeah, speaking of Spence, we haven't really paid too much attention to the ARMs this race, but he's had a pretty good start. And he's kept where he started in 6th place, but crucially, that's where you get into the feature race, and his AM rivals behind him will have no choice but to come through the field in the B final if they can't do anything to challenge him. But Spence looks to have good pace at the moment, and he's keeping those AMs behind him, and I think he's got that AM win in the bag. We've got 5 minutes to go in this first heat.
Yeah, Spence going into this round looking strong in the championship, going for his first Apex Racing League title. And this result would certainly help him there. Riskor getting past Reese. Now, these were basically teammates in qualifying. They really did help each other out a lot. But Riskor not wanting to wait behind. He's now 2 places from his race start. And that would be 3rd place on the grid for the A final if it ended like this. Zambra catching up in all of that though, and Kaibach, we know how competitive he is. One of the fastest drivers on the circuit is Michael Kaibach, and so he is keen to have, and even Spence might be able to take advantage of this one, albeit he is still dropping a few tenths of a lap. So this is good news for Zambia right now. He'll be happy that these guys are head-up fighting as much as they are.
I'm not even sure they were fighting. I think Struce just knows that Vizicom has a little bit more pace in him, as Struce has been struggling a little bit on this lap in particular and has allowed Zambra to catch back up into that slipstream. But I'm saying that, and then Vizicor goes and makes a small mistake, as we're seeing the battle commence for 7th place between Poggy and Walsh. Poggy rather has been a little bit disappointing in these last few rounds. He had amazing potential in his first round in Canada when he put it right up there in the mix with the pros, but over the past few rounds hasn't done too well, as Walsh just makes a little bit of a mistake, costing him about 2nd-ish. But yeah, that gap at the top has rather fallen down. Amor is streaming off into the distance, you know, say goodbye to him, but this battle for 2nd place is going to start heating up. I can feel it now.
Yeah, let us know on the YouTube chat who you think is going to take this 3rd position, or 2nd position, because it could be anyone. They're 3 wide into turn 1. Vicescore wants no action of that, and Struce moves to 2nd place, and Zambra's back where he started, and all his problems went wrong earlier on when he was battling with Struce to try to get that 2nd place. As in fact, everyone's returned to the same positions as they started. Incredible stuff. We haven't seen this all season. It's usually a few drivers are having problems and a few drivers are moving through the order. Even Rob had a qualifying ban. We thought he'd be much further up there, as there goes the dive on the 178. He gets it stopped. This Fuji circuit just wide enough to avoid contact. And whilst we had 3 wide for 2nd place, we got 3 wide for 3rd place.
Yeah, it seems this is the lap of the 3 wides, as everyone battling it out for that 2nd place. They're still going to go 3 wide. This isn't smart, lads. It's only heat 1. Come on. I mean, it's fantastic racing. Keep it clean. But also remember, there's a championship on the line, as Zambra defensive as hell against Kaibach. Kaibach can't seem to find any way past Zambra, as he's defending hard against the German. And, you know, Vizicor and Struce proving to be tough opponents in getting past. But Struce now, with that little battle that happened in that middle sector, has just pulled a little bit away from Vizicor, which is going to leave him vulnerable to Zambra behind. And I think this is going to be a send from the Swiss driver into turn 1. And I don't think there's anything Vizicor can do about it.
Only marginally the final lap. You could see the white flag being waved in the foreground on that shot, and you can see it there as well. We were very close to having 2 more laps, but it will just be 1 more, and that's all these drivers need, really. That's all Zambia potentially needs, as there's contact between the 2 of them, and Vizicor up or remains in 3rd position. More contact for Zambia, with Kaibach just unable to get past due to the very aggressive driving of Zambia in this race so far, and still there is no way past. But I'm sure Zambia will have at least 1 more attempt on Vizicor by the end of this race, and I think Kaibach may just hang up the towel, to be honest, and you know, lick his wounds and return for the A final, because he has not been able to carve his way through this field so far.
No, not at the moment, but he's got a good run on Zambra, and there you go. He's actually moved ahead of Zambra. Not sure if that's maybe a tactical play by Zambra, possibly to wait until the main straight to have a good run to the line, but it's a gamble, and he doesn't know if he's going to get a good exit. He doesn't know if Kaibach's going to get the exit out of the last corner of dreams, and I think Kaibach is going to have to take a wider approach around that last corner if he wants to finish 4th in this race. And I think that was a big gamble by Zambra, and well, we're about to see if it's going to pay off as we come round the last corner. But Kaibach is playing it really, really defensive, and has gotten not the best of exits out that last corner. He's going to try and get that slipstream on Visor Court in front, but I'm not 100% sure who's going to be able to get fourth. But it's Amor who ends up winning this first heat race. It's going to be all the way to the line, but I think Kybach has just got it. He has, and Amor blows up his engine in celebration. But yeah, that was a huge gamble by Zambra, and it didn't pay off. And that is a hugely frustrating race from him. It didn't really go the way at all he wanted, did it, Sam?
No, it pretty much as bad a result as he could have imagined in that one. I think it may have been a slowdown perhaps because he was so slow from hairpin that it seemed bizarre because he seemed to get on the power absolutely fine. So maybe a small slowdown they had to serve. And yeah, just the draft from the cars ahead really saved Kybach. And well, I was maybe being a bit harsh to him earlier on, saying that race wasn't going his way. But to be fair to him, he kept on plugging away, and eventually he did get the Swiss driver, and he did get that fourth position. Heat 2, Theodore Bergerson on pole position, our championship leader, ahead of Aiden Young, who's looked very quick so far tonight. K Paradon starts in third place. Then it is Lennart Schnabel, who really needs a strong result tonight to keep his championship hopes alive. Tiziano Caponier lines up in fifth place. Then it's the AMS, Aske Lauritsen, Lawrence Balkayan, Philip Russell, Paul Joseph Klist, and Atia Toth serving a qualifying ban for tonight.
Yeah, and I think this second heat is probably just going to be just as good as the first, maybe even a little bit better, as we patiently, anxiously wait for Paradon to make his way onto the grid so we can get underway here in the land of the rising sun. It was good action in that first heat. Can we get even better action in this second? Well, we're about to find out as we wait for those 5 iconic red lights to go out. And we are underway here in Fuji. It's a decent start from the pole man, Bergerson. Young hasn't gotten a very good start as he's fallen down a few places. We're already going 3 wide, possibly even 4 wide for second place. This is not going to end very well. And that's Schnabel going very, very deep. You were talking about he needs a good result. Well, that's not the best way to start a race, but it's Paradon who ends up out of the first corner in the lead as Bergerson went very, very wide into that first corner and now is under threat from Young behind, but just manages to hold on as we come through Coca-Cola corner and now through 100R. But it's Paradon who made this a pretty good start and just launched himself into the lead, but Schnabel's got a little bit of work to do. He's under pressure from Caponia, who now overtakes him, and yeah, not a good start from Schnabel at all, and we're going to see a huge battle for first place. I can feel it.
Yeah, mighty stuff from Paradon to just took the racing line and took the lead, but he's lost the lead now. His nose is slightly behind as there goes Young looking down the inside. That's maybe to put Paradon's off slightly. The ball gone very deep once again. Look at Schnabel. He's come from nowhere, from 5th position, a fantastic run, and all of a sudden he's alongside Aiden Young and could be into the rostrum places. Still Young holding on to 3rd position. They need to realise that they've got 1.5 kilometres of straight coming up. Doesn't matter too much about the positions going onto it, frankly. And still, this entire field is all in a queue behind one another. It's Paradon who will lead going across the line, but who will be leading into turn 1 is a whole different matter.
Yeah, you just don't know when you come to this track, and I think Bergerson, he's a little bit further behind Paradon than he would like, but he's going to be right on the back of his diffuser as we head into turn 1. And don't count any of the cars behind out of this as well, as Bergerson's going to try and sneak up the inside, and Paradon leaving that inside open might be the worst thing he could have possibly done, as he goes a little bit deep and is now under pressure from Aiden Young, who's trying to sneak his way up the inside, but can't quite put a nose in, as Schnabel is under a little bit of pressure from Caponio as well, as they're gonna go into Coca-Cola corner, all single file just about, and look at Lauritsen who's keeping with these guys as they keep on battling, and surprisingly, Sam, no one has had that big of an incident so far.
Wow, what a curse, Yes, as long as you want to crash. My goodness. Yeah, top 6 all in a line right now. Buchanan losing a bit of time, but Lauritsen I think has got plenty enough pace to keep up with these guys when they're fighting this hard. Of course, as well, Paradon's trying to go defensive against Young. It can sometimes be, you know, easy to criticize these drivers, and I know I have in the past for maybe attacking too early. But when you've got a pack like this, you've got to be aggressive, because if you're not overtaking, you're being overtaken. And so in order to like stay in third place, you have to overtake the second, pretty much. And there goes Schnabel, sorry, sending it on Young. Young wasn't too defensive. He's certainly defensive this time. We got 3 wide into the final corner. Does Schnabel know that Caponio is there? It seems like he did. He just left enough room on the inside, and Aiden Young loses 2 places, and that is pretty much what I was talking about, where he didn't do a whole lot wrong there, Young, but he was just gone in the final couple of corners.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit strange there. All of them taking completely different lines. I think Luritzen was trying to get a good exit, but couldn't quite get the exit that he wanted. And he's overtaken Caponio now for 5th place. Can he overtake Young as well for 4th? He's going very deep into zone 1, and there's contact! I think that was Caponio and Young, and that's Luritzen with a bit of damage, and that's Young off without a rear wing as well. And that is absolutely devastating for his championship hopes. I think Caponio might have just been a little bit too deep on the brakes, Sam.
Oh yeah, it was a tap. Yeah, just got underneath him, and then actually both of them made contact. And somehow Lawrence Balcain just drove through all of that and up into 4th position. But yeah, and now we've got a secondary incident, and that is 3 cars involved. Paul Joseph Clist with damage, Atia Toth with damage, and Aiden Young with even more damage. And well, if Young has caused that, then that could be a sizable penalty, because it is a rule in the series. So if you got damage on your car and you don't drive safely with it, then you might get a big penalty, and yeah, that might be coming the way of Aiden Young there, and just unlucky for Clist and Toth to be involved in that. So we've got a lot of drivers with damage, because Caponio, I think, has got damage as well, so he might have to return back to the pits. And Luritzen as well. And Russell's just had a breakdown as well. What's going on here with Russell? He's lost the rear corner of it. Has he made contact? Has he hit a curb maybe?
I think that might be a curb. I'm not 100% sure, but remember what I said a lap ago about...
I mean, we are not surprised. You should be ashamed of yourself, Aaron, because half the field have got problems, and that was, well, I think that was Russell's fault, if anything, where a very slow car in front of him, and pretty much 4 of our 10 cars need repairs.
Yeah, that was really silly from Russell. I understand that Caponio had damage, but that was incredibly silly from Russell. I don't know what he was thinking, going for a move like that. And yeah, I said, a lap or 2 ago that, we've had no big incidents, and then half the field just disintegrate within a lap. So good. I'll from now on not mention anything about anyone, and just give vague responses to everything. But yeah, we've if you're not in the pits, you're going through to the feature race. That's basically the moral of the story.
Yes, very, very, very well concluded there. 6 cars remain, and they'll all be going through to the A final. I wonder if Russell would have been better just to tow back though, because he was painfully slow. He's still not got there, and it's a very, very, very long pit lane. Pretty much the longest, I want to say. Imola's very long
really
as well.
Bad as well. It's like 37 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's one of the slow ones. They sped a few of them up like a year or 2 ago, but yeah, this one is still very slow. Clist is out there in 7th place. He might be on the front row for the B final. There's Caponio. He hasn't got a front wing, and he's not going to have much left of the car at all if he keeps on taking the curbs like that. They are vicious around this circuit. Remember driving, I think it was the F3 actually, that you were probably in, Aaron, where a few of the drivers were hitting the yellow curves on the outside, particularly this final corner, and destroying the cars. Yeah,
those curbs are absolutely horrible. I remember driving over one of them in a GT3 car about a season or 2 ago. I think I was in a Porsche GT3, and I went over them, and the car landed back down and the engine blew up. So they can just disintegrate your car if you're not careful. But honestly, Caponio doesn't need to pit. I mean, he's got damage, sure, but he can easily make it to the end of the race in 6th place.
Yeah, that's all he needs on that one. Shout out, by the way, to Apex Racing Academy. I did say earlier on that this is an open setup series, but many of these drivers are using the free Apex Racing Academy subscription that all drivers receive when signing up to this championship. It's a nice perk of joining this series, and of course that will provide them with track guides, with setups, with group coaching sessions as well, to be able to get faster in a variety of cars on iRacing, from single-seaters to GTs, touring cars, and even rallycross and NASCAR vehicles as well. All can help to improve your performance on Apex Racing Academy. So do check out apexracingac.com in order to get yourself a subscription. Looks like the top 3 positions are fairly set, but Aske Lauritsen, after that setback earlier on, avoiding too much damage, and he's looking for that amateur race win.
Honestly, I don't know how he didn't come away with any damage. It did one of those iRacing moments where he gets damage and then his car just magically pops back into place. So he's incredibly lucky not to have gotten any damage from that incident with Young, but he's still going strong and I think he's looking good for 4th place here. Volkan does not have the pace to keep up with Lauritsen, but he's had a pretty good race. Volkan just stayed out of trouble. As we go on to the last lap of the race, I think this should be a fairly textbook overtake for Lauritsen. Just got to be a little bit later than Volkan into turn 1 on the brakes, as Volkan actually goes a little bit deep there on the brakes. I don't think he was fighting that one too much, but nevertheless, Lauritsen up into 4th place.
Yeah, good recovery, and well, I wouldn't rule him out of an overall podium, maybe even an overall win, because he was sticking with those guys easily earlier on when there were a pack of 6, and if you have similar racing like that later on, he will definitely be in there with the Bredbal IF driver. Alton Lee, Paradon just not being able to put any pressure on Bergson. Bergson has had the pace, and actually Paradon making a mistake on this lap means the gap's up to 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, he's had a pretty flawless race, to be honest, the Swede. He's looked really good these past few races and has really stepped it up from the start of the season. And you love to see the driver progression. That's kind of the beauty sometimes of doing commentating for a little while, is you just get to see drivers change and adapt and get better. And it's absolutely amazing to see these drivers get better every single race. And well, Bergerson is doing exactly that, as this is the ideal way he wants to start the Zay. His championship rival Zambra not really having the best heat 1, but Bergerson having the best heat 2. He's going to come across the line to win the heat 2 race here at Fuji. Absolutely flawless from start to finish. He will start in 2nd place for the feature race. Paradon as well, good race from him. Schnabel, not the best start, but I mean, at the end of the day, he kept it clean the whole race and ended up finishing 3rd. And Lauritsen wins in AM as well. Good race from him. Apart from a little bit of contact with Aiden Young, that wasn't really his fault. But yeah, there's Caponia coming across the line to be your last man to get into the feature race without a front wing. So yeah, that should be an interesting review after the race, shouldn't it, Sam?
Yeah. Well, he managed to keep it out of everyone's way, fortunately. So should be all right on that one, Caponio, and yeah, we'll be starting in race or the A final prodigy in 12th position. Still a couple of drivers to cross line, which will give me an opportunity to mention a new championship that's coming to Apex Racing League. Of course, Apex Racing League hosting several different series. We've currently got our Apex Racing League Clio Cup and Porsche Cup going on at the moment. Prototypes ended earlier this week, just a couple of days ago. Our new championship is the Apex Racing League Endurance Championship, and that features LMDH, LMP2 and GTD cars. 3-hour races around some of the best circuits in the world. £1,500 of cash prizes, and team racing, live stewarding, studio broadcast as well provided by Apex Racing TV. All a lot of good stuff. So if you want to sign up for that, do check out apexracingleague.com in order to get yourself and your team signed up for what will be a fantastic championship. apexracingleague.com for more details on that. As we have got the grid for the B final, then Tom Poggy, who's got a few stands apparently. Welcome to Alex Rich, who is watching along, and everyone else who is watching along on the YouTube stream. He is going to be supporting Tom for this one. He is ahead of Paul Joseph Cliff, Jay Walsh, Philip Russell, Nick Polliard, Tia Toth, Hugo Robb, and Aiden Young at the back. I'd say Young is a safe, top 3 finish here, honestly, Aaron, but anyone else I think could be quite open.
Yeah, I think Hugo, if he can... again, we didn't end up seeing what happened to him in Heat 1, but I think the 2 pros have a good chance to get their way through this field. It's not a very big grid that we have in this B final. Only 8 cars overall, with 3 people getting in to the feature race. But we're waiting for those 5 lights to go out as we are underway here for the B final in Fuji. And it's a good start from your poleman Poggy, who gets a pretty textbook start start, actually, with Jay Walsh getting a decent enough start with Russell absolutely sending it into turn one. There's contacts, and that's going to be a big pile up. There is already, I can see, that's Clist with damage. I think Rob might have damage again. Young already up into the top 3 spots, and don't really know what happened with Russell there. Might be some kind of braking problem that might actually explain what happened to him in the second heat.
I think he was almost getting onto the grass here, and he's just panicked. I mean, he's thought, oh no, I've not broken yet, and if I do try to brake here, I'm going to take out the leader, so let's not take out anyone. I don't know, well, I guess he had a slowdown afterwards as well, which is why he was going so slowly. So Walsh leading the way. Young is up 6 places. I think it might be 7 very soon, because here he goes, straight up the inside through 300R, and then they head into Dunlop corner, and he has got that one done. Big dive there from Rob. He's up into 4th position. Big unfortunate there for Poggy, who I think drove that turn one as safe as he possibly could. He turned out of turn one when he saw Russell missiling down the inside, and ended up sort of slowing up a bit and getting contact from behind. So his chances are probably over of reaching the A final, but the top 6 are all in play. Well, actually, no, you know what? Poggy's in there as well. Oh, Russell's probably ended his chances. That was a massive launch.
Yeah, that was a bit of a cluster beep into turn 1. And yeah, you had the likes of Russell just sending it without really paying much attention. And then just those top few positions, I think there were 2 cars on top of each other at one point. And well, these guys, the more they battle, the more they're going to fall away from those top cars. Not really sure this is the best idea if they want to get through. But of course, if you don't make it through into the feature race, you still end up scoring points in this consolation race. But you know, I think getting into that feature race is more important than a few points. And they've made contact again with I believe that was Pollard and Poggy making contact, and it allows Russell to scoop on through up into 5th place. And yeah, Sam, yeah, you're scuffing watching this, and I wonder why.
yeah, it was just a bit disappointing there. A bit of a lock up into turn 1, and yeah, Poggy wasn't able to get the car stopped. He's going to try to go on Russell this time. Russell way offline there. You can take a few different lines through 100R, but don't take that one because it proved to be quite slow. And Poggy with an underneath move now through hairpin, which is really the only remnants of the original Fuji circuit that we have. Of course, very different. Used to be absolutely incredible, this circuit, with a NASCAR style turn 1 Daytona-esque, as these guys are coming into contact, netcode contact between the lots of them, and Poggy moves through. Pollard was able to avoid any contact, and Philip Russell, not a good day for him. He goes down to 7th.
I just think Poggy there was being a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too big for his boots, as some people might say where I come from. But yeah, I don't think anyone below 4th has had a very good race, to be quite frank. And yeah, no, if you don't have a good race, if you don't keep it clean, then hey-ho, you don't deserve to be in the feature race. As a Young, Rob, Walsh, and debatably Toth as well have all just kept it clean, not hit anyone, kept it cool. And yeah, they at the moment 1, 2, 3, 4 all fairly clean so far, and I think Young and Rob are guaranteed pretty much into the feature race. I say that, never mind.
Oh dear.
Yep, I'm just gonna, yep, yeah, I opened my mouth and Rob ends up locking up into turn 1, but he's defending pretty well from Welsh behind. But yeah, commentator Curse not doing me any favours today.
No, it's not. Toth now in the slipstream of these drives, so that should help him along. It's a real nice line as well, the 100. I didn't quite open up the entry to hairpin, but it's such a wide circuit around here anyway. You don't necessarily need to use all the space available. You can still carry good speed. As Paul Joseph Clist has just exited out the pits, then you had to take a faster pair for an incident. But yeah, let's go a number of ways. 10 minutes to go in this race, and all these 3 drivers, you know, whilst we did see the lockup for Rob, seemingly fairly evenly matched and fairly consistent a bit. To be fair to Rob, since that mistake, he's actually been able to pull away by about half a second from Walsh, which does indicate if he can keep it clean, he might have the pace to make this one through fairly comfortably. But the Hungarian Toth, who was having a qualifying ban for tonight, he was looking strong until that slide, as he was just trying to nail the run onto the straight, pick up that slipstream, but it didn't go his way.
He just read your mind. Just thought that
Yeah,
you were
yeah, that was
about to
very
compliment him,
preemptive there.
and
The
then
curse.
and then he thought, nope, I'm gonna just have a little bit of a drift through the last corner, and yeah, his chances of getting in this feature race have diminished slightly. But again, you never know in this series. You know, we've said before that people win the race, and then the next minute they're upside down into a barrier. So you know, anything can happen in this series. But I think one thing is for certain that Aiden Young has this one in the bag. He's got good pace, and you know the fact that he's in this race in the first place is just unlucky. He definitely has the pace to match the top guys, but just unfortunate incidents, means he's here. But as a driver, you've just got to look at the situation at hand and just get on with it.
Yeah, he's been very strong tonight. Has Young. I mean, looked very good in practice, and I think from 15th. Well, he won't be starting 15th, so he'll probably be starting 13th if he wins this race.
Mm.
Maybe a bit far to win, but then we did see Zambia, I think, win from last back at VIR, and dare I say, I think this is a lot easier to pass than VIR. So yeah, I'm not ruling anything out. I think really any one of those 15 drivers who gets through could get a decent result, as Toth has gone wide once again. Oh, apologies, that was Jay Walsh actually, who was hopping over the curbs. I'll pick up a 1x as well. These drivers limited to 16 1x's during the race. Shout out, by the way, to another one of our sponsors, SDK Gaming, the providers of our overlay. I really do like the blue highlights that we can have on screen, and that's just one of the many easily customizable parts which really do enhance the SDK Gaming overlay. Do check out the SDK social medias as well, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Earlier on, posted some images of the Formula One Championship using a classic F1 overlay. And of course, also live timing and a heads-up display supplied as well by SDK Gaming. So do check them out, sdk-gaming.co.uk. As we were seeing Hugo Rob go extremely wide, extending the front straight by an extra few meters, which it really doesn't need at all, and lost a little bit of the gap that he built up to Joe Walsh.
Yeah, I think he doesn't really need to drive this car that hard. He's got some decent pace. He's not as quick as Young, about half a second a lap off the USA driver's pace, but yeah, Rob doesn't need to drive that hard. He just needs to keep it on the track and make sure he doesn't bottle it, and let Walsh or possibly even Toth through into the feature race. And he's not fighting anyone. He's not fighting for fastest lap or anything. Just keep it on the track, and you'll have fun in the feature race. But yeah, this has been a rather interesting turn of events, this race, I must be honest. We've got some big gaps opening up as Toth went extremely wide and nearly caught those outside sausage curbs. He's fallen into the depths of Poggy behind. I think Poggy has a little bit more pace than the Hungarian driver, and probably he's going to look for an overtake down the main straight.
Yeah, lining this one up very nicely, Poggy. You'll be wondering how this one has gone so poorly, but I'm wondering how he's got a clean car, because I feel like he's made contacts a fair few times. And right now might be in that very frustrating best of the rest place and not being able to get through. CJ Gibby very much supporting him along, and also Aiden Young as well, he's supporting him along. So he would be very pleased with how one of his men have gone so far. Still, Poggy wasn't able to get it done into turn 1. He might have a bit of damage, to be fair, on that car, which just isn't especially visible. And the T51 having to wait behind a little bit longer. These guys, well, Poggy at least, is the second fastest man out on circuit, I will say that, but with 5 seconds up to the advancing places, it's highly unlikely that he'll be able to advance from this place.
Yeah, well, you said it now, Tim. Tim? Why did I... Force of habit. Tim's not here. It's Sam.
I'm offended. But, you know, what can you do?
Oh no, I don't know who's going to be more offended, you or Tim. Actually, that's that's going to be interesting if the other finds that one out. But yeah, Sam. It's quite a big gap, but you know, anything can happen in this race. You know, someone ahead might suddenly spear off into a wall, and Poggy will end up winning this race somehow as he overtakes Toth for 4th place. But Toth's actually going to keep on fighting. I think there was a little bit of contact made there, actually. Come on, guys, let's keep it clean. Around the final corner we go. They're going to be side by side. This isn't really an ideal situation for either of them. They're not getting the slipstream from each other, so they just got to stare at each other for another about 1.7 kilometers.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're very evenly matched. Poggy's got a bit of apologies. It's Toth. He's got a bit of front wing damage now, or nose damage. Really, you can see on the front of that car. That's not his paint. That is just that little scuff that he picked up before. But they were absolutely dead level down the straight. Managed to get the underneath the Poggy, but not enough. The corner speed carried, and for now, Toth is staying ahead, and this is keeping us nice and amused. Polyard's still a while away, so it's going to be just a duo between these two. Apparently, I called you Andy earlier on, Aaron, which wasn't deliberate to the point that I didn't even notice it. So I guess we're 1-1 on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Andy is a little bit closer to Aaron than Tim and Sam. I mean, apart from the fact you have 3 letters in your name, there's not really any similarities. I guess you both end in but yeah, I don't know how I called you Tim. I really don't. I guess it's just it's been a long day. Right, let me off. I missed Tim.
And of course, still got 3.5 later on as well, so I can't wait to be called all sorts of names later on. Pocky, well, I think it's going to be just a repeat. No, it's not going to repeat this time. I think he's going to be leading, going on to the back straight, unless he wants to get a proper cutback. I think he's just got to commit to this one. No, he is going to go for the cutback. Has he got a good launch? He was a bit hesitant on the throttle. But to be fair, this might actually be a nice place to be in, because now he can pick up the draft and really generate some speed before pulling alongside, which is what he lacked last time out. Still got 2 more laps to go in this race.
Yeah, just got a little bit left before Aiden Young probably takes a pretty dominant win in this feature race, but the battle for 4th, not over just yet. They're being very aggressive, and they've made contact on the main straight, and that's both of them out of the race. I think Poggy was pushing his luck a little bit, but Toth also was very, very aggressive in defending that. I imagine Sam's face right now is absolutely distraught. He's going to have an absolute field day watching this one over and over again, but yeah, you can see Poggy very clearly made his intentions clear going down to the inside, and Toth kind of closed the door there. That is a huge crash. If that happened in real life, you'd be absolutely gobsmacked. But luckily, this is just a simulation, and everybody is okay. But yeah, you can see Poggy makes his intentions very clear to go down the inside, and they kind of just merge towards each other.
Yeah, I mean, initially I thought I thought the same as you, where I thought Toth had come across, but actually Toth comes across initially, but then actually before the contact, maybe it's Poggy who comes more across.
Yeah, it's
in the end, both could have left a lot more space. It's a really, it's such a wide circuit. So how you can get 2 F4 cars into one another, it's like shooting two atoms at one another and them hitting. Frankly, I mean, it's yeah. Could have been better from both drivers.
I mean, I'm not sure if you remember, but in the F3 season, when we came here last season, there was a big contact on the main straight.
I think I remember that, yeah.
It was with Simon Rampario, I believe. He had a huge crash, and I can't remember exactly what caused it, but yeah, I mean, it seems like here at Fuji, people on the main straight can't really keep it together. That was a bit of a strange incident. It was kind of like Vettel and Webber in Turkey, where they kind of just merged towards each other. They could have definitely left each other a lot more room, but they both just kind of merged towards each other and were just too aggressive, fighting for 4th place. You know, it's a bit silly, but it's cost them a few points in the championship, and is going to allow Polyard to move through into 4th place. Doesn't really change anything in terms of the feature race. Obviously, I think Walsh, Rob, and Young had this one in the bag, but yeah, Young's had a pretty flawless race and didn't really put a foot wrong.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, just making laps, a little bit of extra practice before he gets into the A final. He'll have plenty of work to do, but he should take this one with some satisfaction. As he started in 8th place, but he has been able to escalate through the order and the 127 for No Limit Sim Racing. Aiden Young is going to approach the line, and he will win this B final and books his spots into the grand finale tonight here at Fuji. And you can see his rivals a long way in the distance. Hugo Robb from the back of the order, he manages to finish in second place, and Jay Walsh will make it another amateur into the B final with a strong result there in third place. Pollard misses out Russell, that's a blow for his championship in fifth. Clist, Poggy and Toth also not making it through.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mishmash of a race. Had a lot of incidents, surprisingly, for only an 8-car grid. I thought, you probably thought the same as me, Sam, that with such a small grid, maybe we'd have some nice, clean side-to-side action. But instead, we got the exact opposite. It seemed like everyone wanted to go to war with each other, especially Poggy and Toff. That was still a huge impact. I'm still a little bit shocked by it, admittedly, and yeah, even that turn one incident with Russell and Clist was very strange. But you know, racing's racing. These things happen, and at the end of the day, Young, Robb, and Walsh did well, and they're going to be racing in the feature because of it.
It's close to run out of fuel.
Or he might be playing. Yes, he has it. Yeah. Okay.
Come on, he's got enough. Paul getting that 6th position, a few extra points due to that incident between Poggy and Toth. And that is that one complete. So we've got a 3-minute warm-up session. A little bit of a break, really, for the drivers to take, albeit most of them would have had some time off during that B final anyway. Another shout out, by the way, to Virtual Racing School, another one of our sponsors. Of course, everyone knows Virtual Racing School's data packs, which they produce for cars and iRacing, but they have in the last few years also got into the world of hardware, producing their pedals, wheelbase, and newly released wheel rim as well. And you can buy all those products either at vrs.racing or at apexracingsim.com, depending on whether you're located in Europe or in the UK. So if you do want to try out those that equipment, do check out those websites, and also probably visit the Apex Racing Sim Center as well, where we do have VRS rigs as well, which are not available quite yet, but will be hopefully later on in the year, along with all their other equipment, rims, wheelbases, and pedals. And yeah, it's a very fun thing to try out the equipment, whether you're new to sim racing or whether you are testing out the equipment if you want to buy it yourself. So do check out all that stuff. There are several links in the description below.
Yeah, and just a quick mention, a little bit of a throwback. I remember when Apex first ever approached me to do one of their leagues. It was a good 3-4 years ago. Yeah, I got an iRacing message from Apex, just saying, you know, do you want to come do our first F3 league? It's brand new, and you know, to see how far Apex has come in the last 3 or 4 years, it's weird but kind of cool at the same time. You know, going from 3 or 4 years ago to being a little itty bitty league. I don't even know if you were commentating then. I definitely know you were still.
Oh, I was. Oh, yeah. 2017, man. 2017.
Oh,
I'm
you're
an old man.
I remember you didn't commentate on the F3 back then. It was.
No, I feel like the first few seasons were quite late, weren't they? I feel like they were like almost US time zone. They were like starting at 10 o'clock in the evening.
I remember that. Yeah.
So you know me, you know I'll be, well, usually I'd be straight to bed by 9 o'clock, but of course, you know, having to fill in for Mr. Cox tonight means that I'll have to sleep well beyond my bedtime. So I couldn't make that one, but no, it's yeah, cool that we are now in season 7. Not of just this series, but also the Porsche Cup. So we've had about 8 seasons of GT3 Trophy in various different forms, whether it be GT Trophy or GT3 Trophy. And yeah, it is really, really cool. Do check out, of course, all the all our websites, links in the description, and social media pages as well for Apex Racing Team and all of that Star Cross Racing in Pesk tonight, and also ESL R1 on Monday. Daniel Amor is on pole position for this A-final ahead of Theodore Bergson. Tommy Struis starts in third place against K. Paradon, David Weisskor, Lennart Schnabel, and Michael Kaibach, top of the AMs, but looking very strong in that heat was Aske Lauritsen. Cyrus Zambia starts way down in 9th place, but do not rule him out of taking the race win. Lorenz Balkayan starts in 10th against Garrett Spence. Tiziano Caponio, Aidan Young, Hugo Robb, and Jay Walsh rounding out the 15.
Yeah, I think we've got quite a spicy race on our hands, and hopefully we can have a lot more closer action, because I think if everyone can actually keep it clean and keep it on the track, we're going to have a very, very good fight for those top positions. And of course, we've got the likes of Caponio and Aidan Young, and even Zambra starting a little bit further back than they would like. But once again, for the final time tonight, we are underway here in Fuji once again, and it's a good start from your pole sitter, Amor, who gets off the line pretty good compared to the rest of the field, actually. And Bergerson, they're just slossing in behind in second place. Got a few cars now coming through. There's a little bit of contact. I think that's Caponio again. There's a car around that's Vulcan and Spence, crucially, for the AM Championship, who's gone round. And for the second time tonight, Caponio is left with more damage to his car. And I'm not... that was just off camera. Not quite sure what happened there. I think he might have actually collided with his teammate.
There was a lot going on. A lot of drivers seemingly were making their breaks. So I think the 178 was one of them, Zambra. But no, Zambra was fine. But then, yeah, there was a couple of cars, the 210 of Lauritsen came so close to wiping out a few cars. And then it was just behind that Caponio got collided in. But yeah, it was really inevitable from how they were gesturing. Schnabel with a massive start. He's already up a couple of places. He's trying to make it 3 places. But Struis is holding on at the moment. As there goes K Van Paradon, trying to get past a couple of drivers. But this is letting them down because they are losing time to the top 2 who are over a second ahead. There goes Paradon. They all make contact. Schnabel can't avoid all of it. Weisskor round, Struis round, Schnabel round, and Paradon round.
Yeah, I literally said before this race started that if everyone can keep it clean, we're going to have some good racing. And then everyone proceeds to crash. Good job, everyone. But yeah, I think that was just a little bit too aggressive from Schnabel, who makes contact with Paradon, who then makes contact with Struis. And I think, honestly, all of that was caused by Schnabel. He just dipped a nose in where it didn't belong. And yeah, ended up paying the price, but at least we got a battle for the lead still going on. We've got Amor and Bergerson, and look at that, Zambra as well up into 3rd place, and look as well, surprisingly, Young up into 5th. It's all happening here today. Got some good comebacks going on, and Young already up there in 5th. He might even be able to challenge for the podium places. But yeah, I mean, that opening lap was anything but clean.
Yeah, I will say as well, just with that incident with Schnabel, I think maybe Van Paradon was a little bit at fault, kind of going wide and then seemingly trying to get a cutback, despite the fact that Schnabel was so close behind. So might go a few different ways. That's incident. Of course, we do have stewards who will be reviewing those instance pro level stewards as well. I won't exactly say who they are, but they are. Either current or former Pesk drivers. Well, Rob, unfortunately, has had to go over the pits because he hasn't got his rear right touching the ground, it looked like there. He had a fantastic start, did Hugo Rob. It seems like something's gone wrong for him somewhere. Maybe it involved Jay Walsh, but I think Walsh had a separate incident. I think that was from a little bit further down the order.
Yeah, I think Rob was... Oh, dear, that's Vulcan going over the curbs. That's not something you want to do around here, but... Yeah, I think Walsh might have had a separate incident, or maybe got involved in that turn 1 crash at some point. And surely, without a rear wing, I mean, how is he still driving that thing? I know damage on this game isn't totally realistic in terms of how it feels, but, you know, I mean, he's still driving the car, but it doesn't look like he's coming into the pits. And he basically should have no drag now, and should be going like a rocket on this straight. But, yeah, that... incident with Rob, I think he again got caught up in that turn 1 crash and looked like he had some big damage on the front of his car. There's Spence as well. Really unfortunate that he got picked out in that opening lap crash, as that's going to rather dent his AMA championship hopes, as Lauritsen is up there in 6th, so he's got a lot of work to do.
It is a bit frustrating when you see the rear wing on that car go, and he's... Oh, that's realistic, because, yeah, that he should be getting some oversteer. But I remember on F1 2002, designed by EA Sports, that you lost your rear wing, and then you gain like 20 mile an hour down the straights, and you're absolutely insane. Obviously, once you got to a corner, you'd have no hope. But considering that iRacing has been around now for best part of 20 years that they've been developing it, would be nice, iRacing, if we had the drag accurate as, wow, Amor all over the place, going through Net's corner, and it's left him with some work to do through Panasonic, the gap up to 0.94. Now remember, these two are teammates, Bergerson and Amor, and frankly, Amor surely won't beat him, because Bergerson is going for the title. Amor isn't, and so it seems overwhelmingly obvious to allow Bergerson to take this race win and let Amor finish in 2nd place. But yeah, we'll see what they're going to do.
Yeah, we'll see if they end up fighting. We've got Schnebel in the pit lane now as well, as this is the current battle you're looking at on your screen for 6th place. Lauritsen got overtaken by Paradon and then re-overtook him and then overtook Paradon again. So a little bit of a bish-bash going on there, but I think Lauritsen has a bit of front wing damage, so is a little bit vulnerable right now. But speaking of F1 2002, I was actually playing that earlier on. I was doing a league race. I actually streamed it on Twitch. Well, technically it was F1 99-02, which you know, Sam, if you've played that game, you can surely agree with me that it is an absolute hood classic of a simulation game. And oh dear, that's not the ideal line through the old hairpin there. Paradon getting it all wrong, as he should start to pull away from Lauritsen behind, but can't quite seem to do it.
Yeah, I think he's shown to be a bit faster as Paradon, but honestly, like, I think Lauritsen is that far off, and well, he's exhibiting right that right now. As they battle through this 3rd sector, spin in the background for Tiziano Caponio. But yeah, this... Oh, now he's going to have to go over the curbs. The suspension in these cars is really strong to deal with these curbs as well as they are, because I think it was the F3s, like I was saying earlier on, Aaron, but it could have been some other cars where you hit those curbs and then it was pretty much game over. I mean, it was a case that the steering was gone at that point, and you would have to take a faster pair. So they are really dealing with them extremely well. Bergson leading the way by half a second, so Amor very much back into the fight, and then we've got this battle between Paradon and Lauritsen, and then also Walsh being caught by Schnabel further back. Schnabel already having to take a pit stop, of course.
Yeah, not really surprising when you don't have a rear wing. You don't really have too much control over the car.
How does he not have a meatball? I mean, how are the in-race organisers thinking that's fine, and that he doesn't need, you know, a significant part of his car? I mean, you can get away with it in IMSA with what Peugeot are doing, but I don't think you can get away with it in single-seaters.
No, I think the only time you've seen a single-seater car without a rear wing is Formula Fords, or that one time BAR did that drag strip just to see how fast a Formula One car could go without a rear wing. But yeah, if you've ever seen rear wing failures on these cars, you know that as soon as a rear wing is gone, they're undrivable. As soon as you brake, as soon as you turn, it just loops. Like, there's nothing you can do. And you know, like Sam was saying earlier on, I do hope that they can improve the damage, like the way it affects the car, especially aero-wise, at some point in the near future. Suspension-wise, it is pretty good, probably the best. One of the best out there, but yeah, aero-wise, still a little bit of improvements. But I think we'll wait for rain to come first, hey, which should come soon. But speaking of coming soon, here's a more on the back of Bergerson. But like Sam was saying a few laps ago, I think a more possibly would rather not attack Bergerson, as they are teammates, then Bergerson has a better chance of winning the championship.
Yeah, going into this round, remember Bergson was 11 points clear of Zambra. Zambra is sort of under the radar in this race. He is up 6 places from his start, but not really in this fight, and will lose more points. With 2 rounds to go, really, if it ended like this, Bergson would have certainly an assailable lead, not an unassailable lead. But as long as he could finish sort of just behind Zambra in every race, then that would be enough for him, because he really has been raking in the points. He scored more points than anyone else in both of the previous 2 meetings, along with the 3rd most points at round 4, the 2nd most points at round 2. Didn't have a great time of it at Hungaroring and VIR, but to be fair, I think VIR collided on the last lap, so wasn't totally wasn't going wrong all the way for him. But yeah, this strong run of form towards the end of the season going to be very close. And in the Amateur Championship, as Schnabel's just got past Spencer, by the way. Speaking of Spencer, he might be leading the way because Tom might not. I think is on holiday. Hopefully he is watching along and yeah, enjoying the action. But that will mean that Spence will move ahead of Minot in the championship. But with Chris Kirk not around either tonight, Aske Lauritsen will be moving up there. So I think pretty much Spence and Lauritsen will be tied on points with 2 rounds of the season to go.
Yeah, that like I said, that championship, both championships are going to take huge hits in this race. I predict it, and hey ho, I'm just a prophet, I guess. But yeah, those final 2 rounds are going to be really, really interesting. We're going to see different approaches from different drivers and different teams as well. Do you take it easy and just try and, you know, secure every point as safely as you can, or do you send it and try and gain as many positions, as many points as you can? It's a tough game when battling for a championship, and it plays on your mind so much, and sometimes it's genuinely all you can think about, especially if you're fighting for your first one. I'm definitely not talking from experience of the last F3 season. It definitely didn't take up my entire week of thinking about it, even at school. It really is. It's such a good feeling. I mean, I'm sure some drivers watching this, and even Sam, you all can relate. Fighting for your first championship it's a feeling you can't get in any other sport. It really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I famously won the BSR Radical Winter Series Championship a few years ago. It's quite a big deal. Because I won it as an amateur driver. But yeah, you know, and then of course I won another championship, so I can say from experience that winning the 2nd championship, you know, you do learn some stuff, and it does take the nerves off slightly. But you know, I know, appreciate that a lot of people haven't experienced that before. Bergerson, 2/10 of a second ahead. He's almost been nudged along by Dan and Moritz. Good to see teammates working together like this, and they are so evenly matched. I think these 2 have been actually racing in some official series earlier on in the week. I think both of them, you know, fairly young guys, and will be gaining a lot of iRacing, and yeah, so getting their iRacing to a sensible level, because I think at the start of this season they're only about 4K. But I think their pace really does indicate over 5, probably 6 or 7K. And well, whilst this won't be contributing to that, it will still be sort of just exhibiting the superiority they have over the rest of the field. As Vizicor has just got past by Kayan. That came out a bit of nowhere, but Barkayan's pace is very poor. And that's not because he's you know, slow or anything. I think he's got damage on his car, because he's about 4 seconds off the pace that last time round, and losing time in every sector, it looks like.
Yeah, he's definitely got some kind of problem on that car, but he's still 10th at the moment. But I think with that pace, he's probably going to fall into the hands of Schnabel behind, and as Struce gets past Spence. I could have sworn that Struce already got past Spence, or maybe I'm seeing things.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No, he got past Walsh. My bad. He got past Walsh. I don't know what's wrong with Spence as well. He's, I mean, it's just a graveyard out here, or a zombie movie, because so many cars got damaged.
He was involved in that crash into turn 1, and maybe there's some damage that we can't see.
Yeah, you can see on the right side pod there.
Oh yeah.
Got a bit of a scuff.
Yeah, but a bit of a scuff wouldn't cause him to be fighting of the
Garrett's,
pace.
Garrett's a very, very good driver. Yeah, that's not explaining the whole deal. But maybe there's you know, maybe that's an indication that if you, I don't know, maybe we've seen these cars be really strong. Maybe all the strength in these Formula 4 cars come from that right side pod, and once that's gone, you may as well park it up for the day.
I think the suspension on this car isn't even made of carbon fiber, it's just made of titanium, and it's unbreakable. As there's Schnebel getting past Bolkan within a lap. I said he might be able to get past, and he's already done it. So yeah, Bolkan having some kind of issue, surely, as he's really struggling to pace. He might even fall under pressure from Struess behind, as Struess is on a little bit of a charge after not having the best feature race in the world, but yeah, after lap one, it's Schnabel takes a different line through Coca-Cola corner, but yeah, this feature race after lap one has been fairly quiet.
Yeah, it has very much. Just a few drivers sort of recovering their positions. I think Struess will be very close by the end of this race. We've got 2 more laps to go after this one, and at the moment he is lapping 4 seconds a lap faster. I think he'll be coming down to the final sector, honestly, on the final lap. There is Struess trying to get as many points as he can for TNT Esports number 2 team. In the Teams Championship, of course, great day for TNT Esports number 1. Skorks Esports with the likes of Zambia involved in that squad. Will be losing a few points, also Caponio in that team, and then the Alcantech guys of Schnabel and Co. In 3rd place. And No Limit Sim Racing just being represented now by Aidan Young in the championship, and with Young up there in 5th place will be scoring a few points, but may well be slipping into the clutches of TNT Esports number 2. 4th place in the teams, as we are seeing a more still closely falling behind, and with just a lap and a half to go. Teammates executing this one absolutely perfectly. I mean, what it would be quite something, and if no, we've got Jay Walsh around. He was already in 14th place. He can't lose that 14th place because we're obviously 7 laps behind him. But it would be incredible if Amor said, "You know what? I want to win this race. And sure, I'm in the same Discord as you. And sure, there's going to be a very awkward moment when I accidentally make contact with you and we're risking crashing. But I want to win this race, and I don't care about your championship." But I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, I'd love it if it would happen, and judging by the way Bergerson is defending, you could say it might be about to happen, as he's going very to the limit. And well, Sam, your wish has been granted. We're on the final lap, and Amor has said, beep it, I'm gonna go for the win in this race, and let's hope they can keep it clean as they come down into turn 1 for the first time. Amor has gone very easy on the brakes as he's now overtaking Bergerson. The Swede went way too deep into turn 1, but now he's just about on the rear left tyre of Amor, and he's going to have the inside line as we come into the old hairpin, as we come through 100. Oh, that's very wide from Amor. Surely that's going to be a slowdown for him. Yeah, he lets his teammate through, and unfortunately a good battle that we were hoping for this final lap has rather been squandered by a unfortunate slowdown, as he's going to have to serve this one. And yeah, he's just slowing down off to the side of the track. And we got a few corners of action, Sam. I nearly called you Tim again, but yeah, you asked for some action, and well, there you are.
Yeah, I don't know if they were sparring or whether they were properly fighting. I don't know if it would be a case where Amor would just slow up on the final corner and say, "Well, I would have beaten you," but I don't know. Either way, Theodore Bergson deserves this race win because he got pole position. He took the race 1 victory. And it looks like after doing the double last time out at Rudskogen, he is going to do the double again and take a step closer to the championship title. And on the long run to the checker flag, there's no stopping the Swede. Theodore Bergson takes the race victory once again. It's 3 in a row for TNT Esports number 1. He beats his teammate Amor. Zambia recovers to 3rd position. There is a fight going on further down the order. Schnabel has caught up to Vesicor right at the end. Caponio, I think, has lost out 2 drivers, as at the corner that Schnabel had issues earlier on, he has another issue. Caponio spins around, and by Kayan might take advantage of this one. Schnabel's had enough of it, he's towed back, and that will drop him a few more places. While Kayan will get 9th place, but Lauritsen has crossed the line, and he has taken the amateur race win.
Honestly, Sam, why did I see that coming? Like, I just knew. I did not think that they would come out of that corner in one piece. I don't know, the way that Schnabel has been today, he just can't seem to get away from a little bit of banging wheels, and Caponio as well, as enough, he's just going to come into the pits and finish in 11th place most likely. But yeah, I think similarly we're going to have to get a replay of whatever just happened in front of our eyes and get a better grasp of it. I think Schnabel kind of just moved across on Caponio when he was still there. Here is the replay. I think.
Oh no, there was
actually,
contact
no.
with the car ahead, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was just Caponio being a bit too aggressive and just slid straight into Schnabel. I don't think Schnabel did too much wrong there. Yeah, just you can't really blame Schnabel for that. That was not the ideal way to end a race after his trials and tribulations today, as we've got Spence off into turn 1. But yeah, wow, Schnabel has had, let's be honest, a horrid season so far.
And he actually breached the instant limit at the end there, so it wasn't a DQ. He just got a drive-through penalty, and yeah. I think at that point he thought, well, I'm going to get 40 seconds out of my time anyway, so no point in completing it. As there are other TNT guys doing some nice burnouts. Not sure if the yeah, they are slightly merged there. As the 134 escapes and got a very funky looking nose. So that is the A final for you, and we can go through your final results for this final race of the evening. Theodore Bergson up top, Daniel Amor in 2nd place, then Cyrus Zambia, Michael Kabach, Aiden Young, Kay Van Paraden, Aske Lauritsen top of the amateur drivers, as David Visco, Lawrence Barkayan, Tommy Struis, Garrett Spence, Tiziano Caponio, Jay Walsh, Lennart Schnabel, and Hugo Robb rounding out the 15 drivers. All of them pretty much finishing, apart from Rob Schnabel taking a tow on the very last lap of the race, hence why he was 1 lap. Yeah,
well, that was a weird race. We didn't really have that much racing, actually. It was more people just sort of running into each other, but we've got a few interviews waiting for us, and I'm going to snatch Aiden Young, actually. I'd quite like to talk to the man. Aiden Young, you know, you had a tough start to your day. It didn't really go all that well, and then in the B final, went pretty well, and then in the feature race, went even better.
Yeah, I'm happy with P5, obviously, from pretty much dead last on the grid. The heat race didn't go like I wanted it to do. Obviously, you saw the incident. I just got a little bump from behind, and that was enough to send me straight into Ask, and then caused the 2-car crash. And then when we went to consolation, I'm like, okay, I got my mindset. I want to get in the feature. I need to score points if I want to still have a shot at winning this championship. So I set my mind on what I wanted to do, and I went out there and just pushed every single lap in the B and won it. And then in the feature, I was like, okay, this is where I really need to make up the points. I have to finish as high as I possibly can to minimize the points loss. So I just pushed, and then obviously those wrecks, they happened. I was looking 2 cars ahead of me the entire race, so I saw exactly when they happened. I'm like, oh, inside, oh, outside, avoid the crash. And I managed to avoid both of them cleanly, and then we just went from there. But then I caught Michael and Ciro, but then I think I got a little too aggressive on the sausage curve of, I think, turn 5, and it just I think it ripped my front wing off because I was having problems with front downforce, I was understeering like crazy after that.
Yeah, those heat races were interesting to say the least. And coming through that turn one in this feature race, what was going through your mind seeing cars flying left and right and center? You know, as a driver, you know, what goes through your mind?
Well, if you think back to 2011, you know how Sebastian Vettel said, "What are we doing here? Racing a ping pong?" Yeah, that's what was going through my head.
Yeah, it was not the cleanest race in the feature race.
I wanted to say, just to give everybody a little laugh, I wanted to say over radio or the text chat, "Are we playing ping pong? I want in." But then other than that, I saw it happening. I saw one guy move over, and then he moved the other guy went to his inside, and then he moved back down the track. So he made 2 moves, and then that caused it. And then next thing you know, you see them spinning around, and then you're like, okay, well, now's the time where I need to avoid this, and I can use this to try and pick up as many positions as possible. And I did that with both wrecks, and came out with a good finish today. So I'm really happy with it. And also, congrats to Theodore for the win. That's 2 in a row for him, so that's awesome. He's super quick.
Yeah, speaking of Theodore, and you mentioned the championship as well. Do you, with 2 rounds to go, do you still think that the championship is on, or are you looking to be a little bit optimistic?
It's still on. Knowing how close it is, like, Ciro or Theodore, they could have one bad race and then I'm leading again, and or Ciro or Theodore could have a bad race and then Ciro's leading and then I'm P2, and then it all would come down to the final race and drops, and if we tied, it would come down to podiums and wins and who had the most, which would be pretty hard to sort out because I think we all have the same amount of podiums.
Yeah, I mean, both championships look. I mean, I couldn't bet on who would win AM or Pro. It's looking incredibly quick, and we love to see it, of course. But before we round out this interview, Aiden, as always, as is tradition, any final thoughts, any final words, or anyone you want to thank?
Yes, I would like to thank my team, No Limits Sim Racing, for cheering me on today, and then for everything they've helped me with. Setups and all that. I'd also like to thank their sponsors, Joe Deep Valeting, Glitch Energy, Gamers Apparel, and then I'd like to thank my championship contenders for making it. It's hard but fun because they're super fast and super tough. It makes me really push to try and win this championship, which is a thing I really like about it. And then I'd like to thank you guys for the awesome commentating.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Aiden, and good luck in the rest of your championship.
Thank you.
Well, Sam, if you would like to do the honours of interviewing our next man.
Yes, we have got Dan Amore next up to have a chat with. Dan, congratulations. Really fantastic round for yourself and the TNT guys tonight. Let's take it back to qualifying first up, because it looked like you absolutely nailed the slipstream to take that 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, no, I was chatting to Theodore, and I was just kind of following him. I wasn't really in the tow. We just wanted to get a lap in to start with, and he made a mistake on one of his laps and got off track, so it wouldn't count. So what he decided to do was come out of it a little bit, so I was close enough to have a really good tow, and then all the way down the straight I got a massive tow, getting to maybe a 10th or so, and then just about got him for pole.
Yeah, it was absolutely perfect. I think it was 8/100, so she just about nipped him by, and then won your heats. And well, it came down to the feature. We were speaking, like, how competitive was it between yourself and Theodore? Because Theodore's, of course, very, very close for the championship. He's leading the championship at the moment. Was it a straight fight between you guys, or were you always going to let Theodore go so that he could get the points for the title?
I think if it was going to be a little bit more of a fight than last time, that if you know, if he made a massive mistake and I got through, I would have taken the win or something. But you saw when we came into turn 2, I went really wide because the last thing I wanted to do was have any incident, any mistakes or anything. So I literally, at that point, I was just like, I'm just going to let this go now. Went wide, let him get on with it, and just took the second because there was no point going for anywhere else because it's a bit more of a risky move if you go for a move past turn 1.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good strategy to have. And next time we go to Monza, sort of more the same, I guess, of this circuit, almost this circuit on steroids, I guess. What do you think the racing's going to be like? I mean, is there going to be a chance for you guys to break the draft to the rest of the pack, or do you think, you know, it's going to be a case of having, you know, the 5 or 6 cars at the front at all times?
Yeah, I think it'll. I think next week will be all about the racecraft, to be honest. Because even if you battle around Monza, I don't see you losing enough time to get out with the toe. Just because really, you know, every party a lap time around Monza is toe, and if you can break it, you're good to go. But it'll be really difficult to break it. So I expect it just to be an outright race on racecraft.
Well, we certainly look forward to that one. Congratulations, Dan, on tonight. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out
to? Top team boss, Ronnie Smith, and all my teammates for brilliant work today.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us.
Oh,
and
Mum and Dad as well. Mum and Dad
yeah.
and sister, because I know they're watching.
Very, very good shouts. Well done, you're in the good books for the next week. Hopefully you can deliver next week as well. See you then.
Yeah, thank you.
Dan Amore there, your second place finisher tonight with his teammate Theodore Bergson winning out. That is pretty much all we've got time for tonight. Got 2 more rounds of the championship to go. Monza next time out. Do not miss that one. Of course, big thanks to SDK Gaming, to Virtual Racing School, and to Apex Racing Academy for sponsoring this broadcast and helping out in Apex Racing League. Of course, do check out the Apex Racing League Endurance Championship, and do check out Apex Racing League and Apex Racing TV's social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, the Apex Racing UK TikTok account as well. You can follow, where we are constantly posting our best moments from all of the Apex Racing League series and updates about new stuff coming on the channel. So do follow all of those platforms. Links are in the description below. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Aaron Smith, and from Samuli Kumo, we are going to say goodbye, and we will see you back next time in Italy. See you then.
For turn 1, I think he's sitting back now. Smart thing to do. This last chicane is not the best overtaking opportunity, but he needs